All right, hey there folks, this is my second video. I tried to make this out in the front yard and the noise is just so intense with the traffic and the wind and the motorcycles and the loud exhaust on the cars and the motorcycles. But this is my children's python. I got this children's python about 2.5, 3 months ago. And this snake has been, was unsocialized. It's the pet stores. The Serpentarium is in my neighborhood, or in my part of Dallas. It's in Richardson. I live in Dallas, but the Serpentarium in Richardson has got this snake in from California. It's a children's python. Let me just say that again. And they believe that it is a yearling, so under a year old. It's about 2 feet long, and they got this snake in, and it was a mess. It was, to the best of my knowledge, what I could assume is that this snake was at a breeder, and a breeder pumps these out, and has a few hundred of these, or maybe 500 different snakes, or 1,000 different snakes. It's a money machine. It's not about the snakes. It's about making money. And so they don't handle, I could just see this snake being born as a baby, and the breeder had it for 6 months and it never got picked up. It never got held. And it was just basically a wild snake. It was very, very terrified of human contact. It did not want to be touched. It did not like movement. It was very easily to upset. And this thing was a little strike machine, biting machine. And I am slowly making progress. I've had this snake out now about 30 minutes. He's getting better with both of my hands. I got him out in the sun. It's about 72 degrees today, and obviously if you're in the sun, it's going to be, it's heating me up and the snake up to probably closer to about 80. But the snake is doing so much better with me holding it about every, 2, 3, 4 days. About 5 minutes, putting it back in there, having some really crappy experiences and then having some better. And then lately the experiences have been going better. Let me just think about this real quick. About maybe, 6 days ago, I reached in there and he got me on the thumb. And I mentioned just this in a video prior to this one, that the children's pythons, from the few videos that I've been watching, that these are very, very food motivated. This snake eats wants to eat about every 2.5 to 3 days. I mean, once you feed it and it's the third day, this snake is starving again, or acts like it's starving again and wants to come and eat again. So you stick your hand in there and it sees your warmth of your fingers and it thinks it's a mouse. And so he got me right there on the thumb. And it's going to be difficult to point to it, but right there, the 3 little spots. And then he food wrapped me like my hand was the rodent. And he hit incredibly strong for such a little snake about 2 feet long, wrapped up my hand. And I was really impressed with the strength of the snake, but it wasn't terrible. But for the size, it was pretty impressive. But I had to take him in there in the sink because it's not a good idea to pull snakes' mouths off of you, just to pull them off, because it could damage their teeth or their mouth lining. And so I saw in a video, just go in there calmly to the sink and put some cold water across the snake's head and maybe get some water in the mouth, and the snake will let go. And obviously that's what this snake did, let go. It was not a big deal. It was really laughable. It was not painful at all. I mean, he was gnawing on me or had me, and I couldn't even feel it, and I didn't bleed. But a few days later, 4 or 5 days later, it did leave little scabs, but it was so insignificant. It was laughable. It really was. So the bites are not that bad, but what it is, a breeder raises these, and a breeder that cares and doesn't have 1,000 snakes, they play with their babies. They take them out and socialize them. And so that's a big deal. But again, the breeder that does that socializing will say, this is how much effort I put into this snake. The snake is tame when you get it. It's healthy when you get it. It's happy. And so I'm going to charge $350 for the snake, And there is some justification in that. But You know, snakes are just really expensive, you know, and they have gotten in the last 10 years. That's where they really increased in price, especially after the COVID virus. They doubled or tripled in price. And, you know, you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg to get a snake that's a good snake, is what I'm trying to say. So, you know, if you're a young person and you got one of these snakes, it'd be very easy and quickly to be discouraged and not want to keep the snake if it's as biting you and striking at you and as unfriendly as this one was, or defensive. If I didn't know better and probably, you know, in my heart knew that I could tame the snake down, I might have gotten rid of this snake or taken it back to the pet store and said, hey, I don't want this thing. And then the next person would have had to deal with it. And then the next person might not have been an experienced reptile keeper and might have gotten discouraged and taken the snake back too and asked for their money back. And that's maybe what has happened to this snake, because it was older when I got it, that maybe people were bringing the snake back, you know, because the snake was obviously under a year old. That's what the Serpentarian people said. They agreed with me. They said that's probably just under a year-old snake, because it's about 2 feet long, and when they're born, they're little small, tiny little string beans. And so this snake probably didn't have that great of a life. And so he just needed to be tamed and handled and made to feel safe. That's about the only thing that I can say that I've learned. You know, it's the reptiles, if they're a sweet reptile or a calm reptile, is better to put it as a calm reptile. A docile reptile is that they feel comfortable and they don't feel in threat that they're going to be destroyed or eaten or harmed. And so this snake is, to the best of my knowledge, starting to calm down and get used to my hands, both of my hands. He's not seeing one hand as perch and the other hand as the animal that's trying to harm him. So it's a good experience. As you can see, I had the snake out now about 30 minutes. I had, you know, earlier, I had to put my GoPro on, my head strap, because this is mounted to my head, my GoPro, and I had him balancing in one hand, and it's almost nearly impossible with one hand to attach all the mounts and hook the camera up. So he was hanging on for me, and then he went up my arm and crawled around my neck and was just sitting around my neck and enjoying being in the house around my neck. Now that's the type of children's python that I read about and that I would want to have. And so, you know, I'm assuming, you know, that's the experience everyone else wants to have if they had bought a snake like this, because that's their reputation. But this snake was nasty when I got it. It was very unhappy, very extremely defensive, and so now it's taming down. I'm glad that it is, but again, food motivated, super hungry all the time. So just sticking your hand, you know, in the cage to get them out, depending on your snake, may not be the best solution, because I reach in there and he pops his head out like it's mealtime. I mean, just immediately pops that head out, and I can see that he's got food on his mind, on his brain. And so a little small cheap snake hook like I have that I've shown in my other videos, that was like $8 from Zoo Med. It's a little collapsible, little stainless steel snake hook with a round, soft, blunt edge, you know, or tip to it. Is perfect for a little snake like this. And this is, you know, I think what you want to do is just tap the snake. But a lot of people are like, yeah, you got to do that. You have to do that. You have to do that. And that depends on the snakes. I don't do that with my boas, except sometimes, you know, if I think I need to do that. But most of the times I don't tap my snakes or rub them with an object before I pick them up. They just don't need to do that. They're a lot more calm, a lot more trusting, and they're larger snakes, and they're probably a little bit more brain power processing. But yeah, you can do that. I can just touch him with that, and seems to tame him down and allow me to go in and pick him up. But I'm not 100% sure it's a he. It's likely a she, but I'm just going to identify the snake as a she. And the reason why I kind of have that idea, well, first let me say I don't want to take him back to the pet store where he had a miserable time and was very unhappy, and probably that helped to spark his defensiveness in the shipping, and obviously the people that had him before me. But he's got pretty large little spurs on the underside of his tail, you know, close to the little anus, you know, the portion where the poop comes out the back right there. You can see these pretty clearly, you know, and I think actually, you know, the males have the larger ones. So, but there's a little bit of a quick taper to the tail. And I think, to, you know, just from the research that I've done, the quicker the taper to the end of the tail from the rear, you know, anus portion where, you know, he goes to the bathroom, that would be the female. I think the male has a longer taper. So that's why I think maybe this is a female. Maybe at some point I will be able to have someone knowledgeable, you know, probe him. I don't have a probe. That's just something I don't want to do, or do where they push and they pop out the reproductive organ, which seems not a good idea, but a lot of people do that, and it's obviously a way to sex your snake, but something, again, I don't want to do. But yeah, that's my children's python. Now I think it's about 3.5 months that I've had the snake. I'm happy with the progress. As you can see, she hasn't bitten me or struck at me once today in about the 40 minutes that I've had this snake out, and that's a landmark. Snake's doing really, really well. But that's my video. Hopefully you found it informative, helpful, or enjoyable to see my snake and see my progress. If you did, consider leaving a like, and always check back for more videos. My tegus, my two large male and female tegus, are in brumation, so they are put away until probably March of 2026. So I'm not going to be making much content on them. So I'm upping the content. Just, you know, I'm handling more my snakes, and I got a new, semi-new, maybe veiled chameleon, my piebald veiled chameleon that I got from Petco. I call it Rescue, and he is doing very well. It's a male. He's doing well, and I have videos on him, my boas, and this little children's python. Again, thanks for viewing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.